Gary Smith, SYSS Yacht Sales. He's the president. He was formerly Sarasota Yacht and Ship. And if his panels will come forward and you grab a seat here while I'm talking. Go on in. And he's a really active guy with IYBA, as a matter of fact, former president. He's really instrumental in having expanded the benefits programs and webinars and all those other good things for our membership, legislative affairs especially. And he's also one of the early supporters of the CPYB program and formerly sat on the Certification Advisory Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Smith.
Thanks to everybody that stayed this long. I know it's tough to follow 2 attorney acts after they put everybody to sleep. But did Dave Moss leave?
No, he's right there. He's sneaking out.
I just want to say thank you for wearing pants today. We appreciate it. Yeah, now I'm concerned of those Zoom calls where he's only showing from here up. Please don't stand. We'll tell him next time. So I asked Casey to join us, so that's why they're a little tight over there today as well. So I thought I was going to be standing down there. So we wanted to talk about IYBA.org. Some of you guys still are asking questions like this is a big unknown. We thought it was real important to have an industry-owned system. We've thought this for a long time. As a matter of fact, for the 15 or so years that I've been on the board, that's been the one thing that's brought up to us as a board more often than any other thing is owning our own data. And now we're in the data world. So, I guess what I'd like to do, Kevin, to start with you, why is it so important to own our data?
Well, as has been noted earlier on, data is everything in the modern world, and having the control of your data and being able to direct that and utilize that as opposed to someone else arbitrarily dictating how your data is going to be used, I think is absolutely critical going forward. We have to have control of our own data. Having control of that is controlling your own destiny.
Right. Keith, you and I haven't met before, so this is kind of exciting to talk to someone that I haven't seen before in the industry. So I'm not sure how that ever happened, but what are your thoughts about the data and owning the data?
I mean, yeah, you said it great. I mean, data is everything now, especially, it's your business, right? Yachts and selling the yachts and getting the listings out there, and not only having ownership and control of it, but having really good control of it. The Yachtbroker.org or IYBA.org platforms are light years ahead of anything that I call them competitors, I guess, but the commercial MLSs just aren't even close to. And so that's pretty powerful, especially that it's all been built in just a couple of years, really. I mean, long time making, but I mean the actual development of it. And they keep coming out with new things every month that just further expand that data in, data out, ways to transform the data that you just couldn't do before with all those commercial MLSs out there.
Yeah, and one thing that's real important to understand is we're not trying to replace anyone. We're trying to enhance it. We asked for many, many years for these type of enhancements, and it wasn't that they were falling on deaf ears, but when you run a for-profit enterprise, your focus has to be on that profit of that enterprise. Yeah. And we understand that, and we know that there will always be a place for those guys at the table, but this is definitely a little different. So switching gears and backing up just a little bit. So right now, how many boats are on the portal?
We have roughly about 7,000 boats on the portal between on, private, under contract, and all of that. Okay. So there was some pushback, and it's taken a lot longer to get to this stage than we expected, but there was some pushback from some folks as the Yachtworld has 52,000 boats on their site now. I think about a year ago it was at 90-something thousand, so it just kind of shows you the inventories. But if you drill down into that, if you look at 30 to 150 foot power boats, which is where most of us live most of the time, there's 10,000 boats, 10,010 boats as of today. And if you drill down even further and you say that same parameter, but you put just Florida, which our boats aren't only just Florida, we realize that.
but it's still more indicative of, excluding much of the stuff that you have in Europe. It was down to 2528 on Yachtworld, 2,528 powerboats from 30 to 150 feet. So, we're getting pretty competitive in that area. Mary, what do you guys do with the IYBA portal that's made you so successful? We've noticed a huge change in the way Galati does their marketing.
Yeah.
Is it because of you, or?
Yeah, it's all me, yeah. No, it's a lot of people working really, really hard, and the IYBA portal had a huge impact on us. I'm really curious, I don't mean to take your audience away, but how many people log into the portal? Like, how many people use it? Do you know what we're talking about? You're logging in, you see it? Okay, good, because sometimes I want to make sure it's not a concept that people are really familiar with what we're doing. But for us, again, it's all about control. We started using the portal 3 years ago when we launched a new website, so we've had it since 2018. And it's all our listings that we can do things on the back end that we can't do in Yachtworld or in any other portals. We can add exclusive content that only shows up on our website. We can add video that's only on our website. We can do maps or news. If we have a very special listing, we'll write a blog about that listing and we'll link it from the listing over to our website. So that's all about interlinking. If you know anything about Google, interlinking on a website is really important because that's like a map. It tells where to go. It tells Google search engines where to go, follow your website. So for us, it's been really a game changer about having control of our own listings, which we didn't have before.
Exactly, and so the system was set up and designed primarily originally as a portal, and that's why we're still calling it that, because we're stuck on it. More known and common is multiple listing system. The portal originally was designed, or was originally the first steps of the portal was supposed to be to feed other websites. And how many sites do we feed currently? No, I don't mean the brokerage base, but other public-facing sites.
So we're partnered with about, I would say, 15 different public-facing advertising sites. But the great thing about the portal is that we don't restrict you from where you can send that data. So I know we have, users like Nautical Ventures that have almost smaller vessels sometimes, and they send their feed to Costco for no charge at all. And so Costco will list, whatever they want to be fed to them, basically. So that's a really good thing, is that we're seeing a lot of our users are making their own partnerships with other public-facing sites just by having us whitelist their API feed.
Yeah, so the original thought process behind it was that we were frustrated with the fact that we had to manually put our boats in so many different sites. Some people are on 30 different sites, things like that. The frustrating thing for us that we're in the beginning of this thing back in 2015, actually, was that we were giving assurances that these bigger sites were going to take our feed, and then they saw what we were doing, and I don't know if they got scared. I don't know what the reasoning is, but that's the reason that it's still not feeding the ones you would expect it to feed, and that's been a frustrating thing for us. We've had ongoing discussion, but in the meantime, it's grown to a little bit different animal. For example, you guys do a lot of really interesting things with the portal feed.
Well, yeah, I think when you say MLS, it's a bit of a misnomer because it's a vessel information repository. So you can put information into this one time, you can update it, you can link it out, but whether it's for charter, whether it's for sales, whether it's feeding your website, whether it's feeding other MLS or systems, et cetera, and sharing within brokers that are part of org, you can do all of that, but it's all in one place. So, listing secretary can go in and everything's there. So you can tag photographs that are only going to be used for charter. They tag photographs that are only going to be used for sales. Tag photographs that are only going to be used on your website as opposed to put out generally. So it's the flexibility and the fact all the information is in one place, whether boats for sale. You can put boats in for reference. I can put boats in individually that only I can see. So if I want to track, yellow-hulled sportfish with tuna towers, I can corner the market on that, which leads into SEO, which ultimately is what it's all about.
Which is part of the reason I still want to call it the portal, because for me, it's a little bit more descriptive, although it's this gray area that people don't really quite understand. So that's one of the reasons. Now, you guys took it even a step further. Greg was telling me last night that you guys are actually creating a database on all the boats out there for your internal use.
For sure,
which is
yeah.
quite
I mean,
exciting.
because we're tracking yachts that maybe aren't even listed on any of these sites out there, right? So we need to, and different kind of markets, global. And so to collect that data, and IYBA's been great for that. I mean, plus the two-way, being able, just following up, being able to put your data one place, push it out everywhere, is a huge time saver. And bring it also now backwards and forwards, right? So we push data out to IYBA, and they also get data to it. And with those connections, like you were saying, we could even feed some of those MLS sites that previously didn't say they were going to accept feeds. So that's some powerful stuff that's starting to happen.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah, so IYBA does have the ability, if you have a large inventory, even if you don't, if you maintain your own company site where you keep all your listings, it will take a feed to be able to populate the IYBA portal. So the key is flexibility. What have you guys seen that at Galati, the most flexible area that you've excelled in?
I think for us, it's about the custom fields. It's
Yeah,
very,
that's a great
very,
feature.
yeah. It's very, very easy to create a custom field. It's not like you really don't need to be a developer to create a custom field. I'm not a developer. I'm a marketing person. So that part, and a custom field basically is, again, if I want to have a separate news function that only applies to this boat, I can go in the back end, I can name the field, and it'll feed out onto our website. The other thing we've done is for all of our new yacht brands, we created unique manufacturer descriptions. Yachtworld has that feature, but everybody uses the same manufacturer description, so we wrote our own. So anytime we get, let's say, Prestige 420, that manufacturer description gets tagged on that listing. So again, that's creating unique content just that's on the Galati site, and that helps again with all the search engines and things like that we all want to rank for. I mean, because as a marketing person, the worst phone call you get is when a yacht broker calls you and says, "I can't find my boat on page 1 of Google." And that's super frustrating. And so I guess another thing from a marketing perspective, the big joke is if where do you hide a dead body, that's on page 2 of Google. So,
So one of the things we get asked a lot from membership too is why do I want to be on the portal, because you guys don't have a public-facing site, so I don't get the SEO. How do you counter that?
Well, you guys do have a public-facing site, IYBA.org, right? All the inventory's up there. It's great, and listed, and the cost compared to the other systems out there is nothing. I mean, it's almost just operating costs. You guys are non-for-profit. It's great. I also think that the other reason to put them in there is, I mean, it pushes out to all these other sites. I mean, that's as simple as that. Plus, and you own it. It's different than some of these yacht sites. You put your data on, they give it back to you, watermarked, cropped, ruin all the data basically, or sell it back to you or sell it to others, right? That doesn't make sense. This is an industry that should be like the real estate industry, where you own the data.
How would you answer that same question? Like, do you feel like we do have a forward-facing site indirectly?
Well, you do have a forward-facing site, but I think because of the way some of us grew up with MLSs, where you had calls coming in off of the sites, people are used to that. You got to, I think, work a little harder, and it is about SEO. But for instance, at Worth Avenue, we get the vast majority of our leads come through our website because it's all SEO optimized, and you can do that so much easier. So if you want to corner the market in outrigger canoes, you can do it relatively easy utilizing org, because you can write articles, you can link everything to listings, and everyone searches now, Google, okay, outrigger canoes for sale, and you will pop up fairly easily if you focus on a market segment. So yes, it's not quite as prevalent at the moment. If you're just putting in a standard listing, and hoping that the phone's going to ring off the hook, you've got to work a little harder for it. But at the end of the day, it's your information, and you're getting it organically, and you become an expert in outrigger canoes.
So that was more the answer I was really looking for, is that the public-facing site is yours. So the data is stored in such a way where you can manipulate the data. It's your data. You can do with what you want. It's just, the portal allows you to do it very easily without a huge marketing team. And we want you as an individual company to get the SEO. We don't want to, we will eventually have a place where you can go on there and see all the boats. You can do that individually now, the public can't. But at some point, it's not about us creating this vast animal where every client that's looking for a boat comes to our website, meaning IYBA.org or IYBA.com or whatever the public-facing site might be, to find the boat and then call you. It's about them looking for the boat, finding you through your own efforts and your own SEO, and that's the way it faces forward. We want you to be the boss of how you're using that data. I would like to ask a question about how many brokerage companies are in the site?
We have about 144 brokerages that are actively using the site pretty much every day.
And how many total are actually signed up that are in the process?
Total signed up about 170.
A little closer to you.
About 170.
Okay. And you have also, with the 7,000 boats, you also are actively working to up with an uploads or an API to come in from a couple of companies that will add significantly to that number, correct?
Yeah, that's true. We are working with a lot of companies that, of course, adding a whole lot of listings is a lot of work for a listing agent. So sometimes we hire freelancers to help out with that, to help get companies and all their listings onboarded easy. And in that process, we've also been designing an inbound API as well. So every month we have people that are in the process of getting everything on and getting signed up, and then once everything's in there, we push them out onto the IYBA.org site.
So the inbound APIs and outbound APIs to your site and all that stuff is not something that you as a salesman would really need to worry about. What we're hoping to gain today, if you're a principal of your company and you're not on the site, we need you on there. It doesn't cost anything to be on there, but there are a lot of benefits. The reason I asked Casey to be up here is she can talk to you a little bit about the training aspects. You guys have created some
yeah, so Garrett has, if you guys don't know who Garrett is, he is the man behind the curtain. He designed this entire platform. It's his baby. And unfortunately, he couldn't be here with us today. But he and I both offer screen share sessions whenever anyone asks for them. And then also now, that we've kind of come back into in-person, we're more than willing to kind of come in, do team training, hands-on training if people learn better in that kind of experience as well.
At one point I was having a discussion with Carmen, I think it was about 2018 or 19, and we were sitting at a table with some Yachtworld folk, and he had been asking for a CMA, for them to build a backdoor CMA thing, and he said he'd been asking for it for a year. And then a little bit later in the same day, we were talking to Garrett when he was doing some original stuff, and Garrett actually had that available for him in less than a day. How are you guys utilizing, and I'm going to ask you guys the same thing, the portal is, it seems in our discussions we've had so far, if this is your first experience with it, it's all an internal thing, and it's not. How do you share listings, say at Galati, to clients? Are you doing it through the portal?
Yeah, that's another nice thing about the portal is we were able to brand all of our collateral with our branding, our colors, our logo, the way we want to be portrayed. We don't have to use a third party or, some of the other MLSs just stick your logo on there and you're done and it's all their branding. This, like I said, this has all our colors, all that kind of thing. So we can send updates out to our clients through that. We can send updates to other brokers. And again, it has everybody's photographs, contact information. So that part is awesome. It also feeds our yacht broker pages. The back end of IYBA feeds our team pages. We can also tag all of our boats for boat shows into the portal, and we don't have to do any other uploads when we build our boat show landing pages. It's just a checkbox inside of the portal, and so that's how some of the other ways we're using it.
Right. And Kevin, what about you guys?
Yeah, it's flexibility and the fact, some of the larger brokerage houses don't put a lot of information on the standard MLS portals. You got to call them up, can I have a high-res GA? Can you send me the full listing? Again, it's formatted in the way they want to do it. But if you have all of that internally, branded the way you want, laid out the way you want, and you can add and link, whether it's videos, whether it's reviews, all of that can be linked, and you can send it out as an email link. So it's extremely convenient just to send it out, and client clicks on it, and it's got everything there. So it's very, very powerful.
And Keith, you guys do a pretty good job at that too.
Yeah, we use a lot of the same features. I mean, it's really great to be able to leverage this platform to create marketing materials, or even bring the data in so we could do more bespoke marketing materials on our side. I mean, it's nice, and it's a big step forward from what we currently had. Yeah.
So what things are in the pipeline without being too much of a look behind the curtain for their company? What do you see in future development that would be kind of the next step towards completion?
The biggest one is that we prefer to start with our data and really own it in-house, and then push it out, even to IYBA, right? And so that just launched, and we're just testing that now with Garrett, and it's working great, and then being able for that data just to continue out to the rest of the sites out there. I mean, that's huge for us. Again, having someone have to enter listings in all these places, even though we've reduced it a lot with IYBA, this is about to make it a much bigger reduction. And then again, the data starts core inside the company and then goes out from there, which means that we'll always have our own data in-house, or in the cloud, whatever, and then push it out to the rest. So that's a big step forward, I think.
It's getting around the feed issue that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So, what about you guys?
We just actually finished a huge project. It's called Yacht Chopper, which is our safe. So if somebody comes to our website, they sign up for it, very similar to what they do in Yachtworld, except all of ours is branded. It will show if someone signs up, they're looking for, Viking 62, these parameters. Anytime that comes on the market, we send that out. And again, it's got our broker's picture on it. It's got their phone number, their contact information. So we've been able to do that because of the portal. We have another project we're thinking about. I just want to say, Gary, it's kind of opened up our eyes onto what's possible. And, really technology is, we're selling boats, we're selling yachts, but technology is behind all businesses now. So if you're not harnessing the technology at your fingertips, you have to in order to be successful. And this has allowed us to do that.
And you may have already fully answered this, but the way you're sending it out, is there anything in the future coming down the pike for you guys, or you pretty much still?
I think as an individual broker, when you're working for a larger organization, whatever that may be, trying to keep your individuality and keeping track. We all have access pretty much to the same clients. You may have some core clients, but we're all working a finite client base at the end of the day. And when you're sending out emails or mass email blasts, et cetera, tracking when the client clicks on, and tracking and keeping you in front of the client is very important. You can do it with org, so that if I'm sending something out, even though it's another listing, another broker's listing, even another broker within the company, but when they click on it and come back and then they look around the website, I'm still associated with that because they clicked on a link from me, and I have an individual identifier, so that whatever they click on the website, if they go, oh, I'm interested in this as well, it comes back to me rather than goes back to the listing broker that may happen to be in Worth or whatever. So it gives you confidence that I'm not just marketing for the company, I'm also marketing for myself. And as an independent contractor, that's vital.
How prevalent do you think the site is in your day-to-day use for your brokers? Are they going in there searching listings, or is it more just for the things that we've talked about so far?
I think if you're asking me, we're getting more and more user adoption. And one of the nice things is we can go into the backside of the portal of MLS and look and see who's using it. I can see every person every time they log in. And so that's pretty powerful as well. And if there's somebody that maybe is having trouble or they haven't logged in, we can go and give them some one-on-one tutoring. So, yeah.
And you as well?
Yeah, probably not as much as should. We're populating. I try and focus on some of the larger stuff, and we have to self-populate that. So again, it's utilizing it as reference because it's a pretty small segment of the market, so it's easier to do. But it's inputting the information, and it becomes a reference list. So regardless of whether it's on the market or not, you want to know about it. Because if you've got a client for a $40 million boat, I'll go and bang on every $40 million boat out there, whether it's for sale or not, but I need to know about it and how to access it.
I think you've answered, you guys, I mean, you pretty much have to go into it to send out your listings, even though they're stored in another place.
Yeah, but not our yacht brokers, right? The brokers don't log into it as much as maybe they should be logging. But then again, we've got the data elsewhere too. But the assistant team, right, that really does all the work for the brokers, they're in there every day.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And they think it's a lot easier to use than other systems.
Data's in one place, all the data's in one
I mean, and also the function, it's just more modern, it's faster. The photo tools, even within the platform, are night and day different. Yeah, much easier for people to use.
How, getting towards the end before we can take some questions, I mean, how do you expect that we, as an association, can counter the argument when we're talking to the owner of a firm, large or small, that says, oh, it's just yet another MLS that we have to enter our boats into, and, you know, geez, there's enough out there already.
I mean, it's so much more, though. It's the best one out there. I mean, that's I don't know how they could not think that it makes sense to put them here. Yeah, you might have to put them in one or two other places, depending on where you're at and what you're marketing, but that's it, you know? But the IYBA one can power your entire website if you wanted to, especially if you're a smaller brokerage, right? I mean, you guys have great plugins and ways to make that integration almost immediate. There's great partners out there who can make great websites with the IYBA feed right out of the box. I think that's a pretty powerful thing, along with pushing out to all the third-party sites without any added costs.
That's a little selfless promotion because we'll probably have some people in the audience that were thinking that, so that's why I wanted to get your input. Do you guys have anything to add to that, or?
No, the fact that it's so flexible and so powerful, and you can create unique content, which at the end of the day sets you apart from all your competition. If everyone's taking the same cookie cutter, you know, listing off of a normal MLS, the guy may have received 6 listings exactly the same. If he receives one that's got additional information and video links and a write-up from a magazine or whatever it happens to be, you're adding so much more. Who's he going to choose? Those 5 or the guy that's, wow, you know, this guy really knows this boat or this segment?
Yeah.
I also think it's about how we started. I mean, listings are your biggest asset, so why do you need to control them yourself? And this allows you to do that.
Yeah, and that ultimately was the beginning of what started this, and it was in response to what the membership was saying. We need an industry-owned site, so it's for the industry, by the industry, controlled by the industry. You know, if you look at the database of the contract agreements that you agree to on all the different sites, they all say, you know, we will only use this information in aggregate. And you read the information and you get to the bottom, it says we reserve the right to change these rules and regulations at any time we see fit, in so many words. So we can tell you right up front, we will never sell the information, and we won't be able to change those rules and regulations ever, because it's owned by you. It's not owned by us. We're just giving you the portal to let you manipulate and use that information. It's yours. It'll always be yours. It's not going to be sold in any form, fashion. So. With that, unless you have something to add, because you've become quite an expert in this subject as well.
I'm starting to get a little feel for it. Yeah, it's it's something I'm proud to be involved with. You know, the whole project started under Gary's leadership as president of the association. I followed in his footsteps. Gary has almost an innate sense of how all this stuff works. I've been a student at Garrett's knee, and Garrett has really helped me get a feel for it. Keith, having been with Advantage Services before and now with Northrop and Johnson, has a great ability to understand all this. Mary gets the digital thing really, really well. Kevin's a super advocate, and as a broker, recognizes from his perspective of marketing products and getting good information out in front of his customers how valuable a tool it is. We do have a little bit of time left. If we have some questions from the audience, we're happy to ask them or answer them.
Paul, do you mind reminding the group of your opening comments, which I took off my plate because you mentioned it earlier about IYBA coming into the.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So, the Yacht Brokers Association of America, we're the largest association in the world with 1,600 members, give or take a few, and growing. In fact, this month we've had a huge surge in membership applications, quite a few from the European community. A lot of our membership applications are stemming from the people desiring to be on yachtbroker.org because it is such a robust database and a great way to share. So Yacht Brokers Association of America, or as we call them, YBA, is 1,100 members. It's a wonderful organization. They really run shoulder to shoulder with us in regard to their principles and their bylaws and their ethics, but they're primarily populated by companies outside of the state of Florida. You know, IYBA started as FIBA. FIBA was the Florida guys, and then there was the rest of the world. And there was a kind of a us and them for a long time, and Gary and I fostered a relationship between the two associations. Well, the guy who's the executive director of YBA used to be the president, kind of like me here, and he and I talk frequently. And on July 13th in Annapolis, they have what they call YBAU, which is similar to what we do, YBA University. And they've asked me to come up there. Garrett's going to come with me, and we're going to make a presentation to the YBA group to help them understand what the value of yachtbroker.org is, and the fact that it is truly the only industry-owned platform out there. It's not private enterprise. It's not something that's ever going to be sold. It's here for you. It's developed with your input. If there's an idea that you have of how to make it better and serve your needs better, there's no profit decision that says, we're not going to do that because it makes it too easy. It's about you. It's about delivering quality content to the public and helping you streamline your business. Yes, right now, it's another place that you have to enter the data. Our hope is we feed through API 13 public-facing websites right now, plus a couple of others that, like the Costco site, for example. But we have Right Boat, Yacht Authority, the Yacht Market, Apollo Duck, which I've always thought was a pretty interesting name. But we have a lot that we feed through API, and we are willing and able to feed any site in the world that will take our feed with solid, curated data. And that's the benefit of it. You control it, you own it. I have a question from over here.
While he's walking over there, I was supposed to ask you, how are you doing today?
Oh, tickety-boo. Thanks very much.
Tickety-boo.
Yeah.
Tickety-boo, I'll remember that.
A quick question as to the exposure. Is there any numbers, data available, like as to last quarter or last couple of quarters? How many views, clicks in percentage or absolute, or how many closings out of that came by using the yachtbroker.org and the docked on external platforms you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I don't think we probably did a very good job at explaining. So the way the portal is designed is, so you put your boats in there, you can create even boats that aren't yours for your own use. But you're feeding your site, your SEO comes to you. So that would be more kind of proprietary information for each company as to how many leads they got off of it directly. So we don't actually have a place yet where a client can come in and look around, and I felt like that wasn't necessary at all, but we're hearing more and more people that want to see that, and so that's probably coming real soon. But for us, that's still going to be a very minor aspect about what we do.
One of the things that the industry has become so accustomed to over the years is lead generation. You know, the reason you put your boats in a public-facing site is so that John Q. Public will call you. It's all about lead generation. The focus of this product is to give you the control of that in-house, give you the SEO, not some private enterprise, some platform other than this. We, early in the game, if you remember, Garrett started giving us some reports about, we were having 1.8 million hits in a month, and I was astonished by the amount of traffic that we got. And we really haven't, Garrett's probably got, Garrett's a tech guy, right? He's got digital files full of that crap, stuff. But, but it really, that we don't have what is considered to be a quote-unquote public-facing platform, although IYBA.org does allow the public to come in.
And keep in mind those click-throughs and things are not indicative of something that we did as well as the things that these guys did well.
Exactly.
So they're putting it out there in a special way where they're getting hits on their sites. We're getting the hits on all our sites that are using it, and those are the click-throughs that you get because it was based on the SEO that was generated from that data.
Right, and when there's a guy sitting on his couch in Cleveland watching the Browns lose on another Sunday afternoon, and he's got no reference to the Browns, but
I'm glad you didn't say Cincinnati.
No, I wouldn't say that.
They're going to win this.
And he's got a 48-foot galleon. I guess, do they make a 48 galleon? Who knows? He's got a 40-some-odd foot galleon, and he wants to buy a 50-some-odd foot galleon. Do they make that size? Anyway.
You have to ask Chuck.
Chuck? Yep, Chuck would know. So they make it all. If they don't yet, we'll have it for you soon, right? He's looking at a boat. He's on the couch. He's looking at his iPad, and he goes into Google and puts in, 52-foot Sea Ray. If you've got your boat in the portal with unique content, backlinks, videos, uploaded PDFs with general arrangements, if you've got the most content-rich listing, by virtue of the algorithm in Google, you're going to trend higher in the searches. And you should be not a dead body on page 2, but you should trend up high. That's the benefit. And the other benefit is that when the guy looks at that, it's going to say, oh, there's Gary Smith at SYSS Yachts in Sarasota. His telephone number is 941 such and such. I'll call him.
And damn, he's looking old.
Yeah, well, that's beside the point. But the fact is, it's generating a lead directly to you through your putting the information into the portal and through your website. That's the key. We don't have a designated public-facing lead generation platform at the moment. What we have is you empowering yourself to do that on your own. And that's the power of the portal, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, and what we do have too, just to make it a little less complicated, if you're running kind of a small group, Garrett has the ability to build the cookie cutter website, and it's amazing the SEO that even something like that will bring you.
Yeah, we have something called a WordPress plugin.
Yeah, and you can just you can build it over time. You can add and add and add later on, but he can get you up and running if you're using kind of an older product or an older inferior website. If it's these days, if it's a year old, it's outdated. Right. So that's something too, and that's not a shameless plug because it's real cheap. It's just, but it is something that is worthwhile to, if this stuff is over your head and you've just been putting it off, I promise you it's not rocket science. I mean, I somewhat understand it, so that proves that it can't be that complicated.
I would have to say that, having owned my own brokerage, having worked in this industry for a really long time, probably the most intimidating thing to me is my fear of not understanding the technology. And in the time that I've been in this position, I've come to understand a lot because I've devoted the effort and energy to do it. I haven't been distracted with selling anything and trying to make a living otherwise. But it's really an intimidation factor that held me back previously, was that I'm of a generation that, technology, yeah, I got a cell phone, okay, I can send a fax. I used to send telexes, I can do that. It's not as difficult as it may seem, and especially to those of us of my generation that we didn't grow up with video games and, a lot of technology. Heck, I was the remote in my house. Paul, change a channel. I got up, went across the room and changed the channel.
Hold your arm up. So how many of you guys are not, your company not in the portal right now? Just one. Come on, don't be shy. It's okay if you're not.
There's no punishment.
So if you're not a principal of that company, will you make the push to the principal? I mean, you know what it costs to put your boats on the portal? It's free.
Zero.
If you're a member of the
you put them
association,
in, and
if
you
you're
search
a
them
member
for
of
free.
any association, IYBA, Northwest, it doesn't matter. In California, we don't have any California yacht brokers here today. Normally we have one or two, but
right.
I think COVID, they're still locked down out there in California.
No COVID-free flights from California.
But the point being, I mean, it costs zero. I mean, there's some other things that you can purchase if you want to do things to it, but everything is dirt cheap. But the point being, it costs nothing. You have nothing to lose. So.
And as Keith and Kevin and Mary have stated, the delivery of marketing material, by putting your information in the portal and the elegance of your marketing products that you can send out to your clients. You know, when I was a broker, actively a broker, I used to use one search engine to look for boats, and then I went to another MLS to create my listings to send to my clients, because one had all the information, the other one had a much more elegant display. This combines both with a display that's more elegant, as Keith said, than anything else in the industry. It's a rock solid product.
So my email address is on there. Paul's is on there. I don't think yours is, Casey, but it's on the ECYSS
No, it's
site.
not, but I have business cards outside if you guys
If
see
you
me.
want any more information about it, reach out primarily to someone that knows what she's doing, and that's Casey. But if she's not available, I'll try and stumble my way. But it's very easy to obtain a sign-in and to put your boats up, and you'll be amazed at the information that you can put in there. It's we wanted to make it, if it's available on any other site, we wanted to have a drop down for it. So there's flagging information in there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of private fields too that you can add to keep your own internal information. So you know, please by all means get in there and play around with it, and call if you have any questions. She'd be glad. She's got videos already done, training
we have
videos.
tutorial videos for pretty much everything on the site. When you're on there, if you're on a page and you're like, I don't know how to do this, all you have to do is click like a question mark, and the tutorial video for what you're doing on that specific page will come up and give you a walkthrough step by step on how to do what you're looking for. And if I may, just to touch on, I'm not sure what his name is, but the question. So while the whole point is to kind of get the leads, you know, coming to you specifically, and we do feed to other public sites, we have been gradually adding so many data reports that are available for you guys to watch. One of the ones that we recently added is our AP Analytics.
Yep.
So you can kind of search by whatever public-facing site you're seeing. So for example, if Galati, we were talking about this earlier, feeds BoatQuest, their vessels, and you want to know how many times this vessel is being looked at on BoatQuest, you can type in their IP address, and every single hit from the past 30 days will pop up. And we also have archived all the data for the past months as well, so you can go back and look at that as well for pretty much every site that you feed. Yeah.
See, there's reports I don't even get to look at.
And if you hate those training videos as much as I do, they're pretty easy to watch. But if you hate them as much as I do, just call her.
Yeah, Garrett, there's no shortage of Red Bull at Garrett's place when he does his videos. He does a great job. Do we have any questions from the audience? Everybody knows how to use it? Oh, we got a question here. And you're going to let me get the microphone to you this time.
And I'm new in this, so my question would be for future growth, is the idea just like on a real estate MLS where regardless of who's listed it, you can look at the history. We talked about it's important to know the history of the vessel, who's owned it before, or not necessarily who's owned it, but at least the history of what's happened with the vessel, which you would find out through an MLS, right? If something was renovated or anything like that in the housing. Will the boat industry do that as well, where there would be a possibility maybe that the listing agent can customize their own whatever they push through, but to where there's just a hull number and the vessel, and you can see how many times it's turned over and where?
I don't
Just
know is the
basic.
answer to that question, because there's a lot of companies that have spent a ton of money over the years creating that data. And that's what's made them very, very successful. So it's really hard for them just to open up their books and say, okay, yeah, this cost us $12 million over the last 10 years to produce. Let me just give it away. But
Well, and it's data
some
in-
of that
it's
data
the-
is available and out there. What's acceptable to be known. Sometimes.
Oh, and it's data in, data out. And we've been amassing data since 2015. Some of the other bigger operations have been around 20, 25, 30 years. They've had a long runway to amass that data. But it's just data. So absolutely, is this something that as we go forward, it'll be the decision of the board of directors, which it guides their decisions through what's ethical, what's right, what's fair, what does the industry want to share, what does the industry want to keep private, does Galati yachts want to be able to have a library of every piece of inventory they've sold since the day they signed on to it. Most assuredly, they should have access to that. 100% yes. Is it right for every company to have access to that data? Well, maybe some pieces of it, yes, are useful. Maybe some pieces of it, no, need to be kept private. So those will be decisions that are made through time. There are a couple of platforms right now where, like if you're talking about damage, there's something called Boat History Report. It's like the Carfax, and you can go in there and by hull number you can find out all kinds of stuff, and it's a very interesting site to take a look at. So there and the big companies that have been around a long time, they've got a long history of information like that. But as each day passes, we'll gain more.
If I may, the problem we have as an industry, especially when you talk about production boats, is trying to keep track of them. So how do you keep track of them? You can't keep track of them by document number. You can't. The only way really is HIN number. And how many times, unless it's a required field, how many times do any of us utilize HIN numbers? Very, very seldom. So if it's a one-off unique larger boat, it's a lot easier to track. But unless we all put the information in to give an individual boat trackability throughout its whole history, it's very hard for us. An address doesn't change in real estate. Boats' names change, locations, flags, and everything else. And so unless we all make a concerted effort to put in trackable history, then we don't have access to that. That's the problem.
When you were talking, I was thinking about aviation, how different it is.
Absolutely.
Somebody could see my plane that I don't have anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, what
so
plane?
Don't look it up. Pull up the N number. They can see who all has owned that forever, where I went yesterday, what time I got back, see me in flight and things like that. And I see that as a huge invasion of privacy, and I would think yacht owners would as well.
You can put do not track as well.
Yeah, you do, but then your family can't find you when you're trying to tell them. So
Gary looks out the window. If there's a cloud in the sky, he wants to see if I'm actually flying or not. There's a cloud over Bimini. Don't go. What other questions do we have? We're in good shape. I think everybody is satisfied, satiated.
Look, I sincerely appreciate everyone staying and everyone coming. I know we had gotten to a point where prior to COVID, we were up in the 2s and 250 people. And for this being our first comeback party, this is pretty nice. So thanks for doing it. Thanks for coming.
We're good. Bob's going to close us up.
Great job. Good panel. All right, so I'm going to sign out here for us. And don't forget CPYB. If you're trying to get your credits, you got to sign out. That's the gig. Don't forget these, Paul, right? No pinky, no drinky. No pinky, no drinky. Okay? And I hope I don't forget anybody. Lee Savage, great job on directing and producing. 2 Yetis back here. Emma, Casey, out. Our sponsors, there they are. Marsh McLennan, Robert Allen Law, Yachtworld, Boats Group, Caribbean Charter Show, Yachtbroker.org. Who took notes today? Did anybody doodle like little 3-dimensional squares or little pictures of sailboats in the ocean or little airplanes? Did anybody doodle at all? Nobody doodle in here? No squiggies, no happy faces? Give it to Emma. If you did, you could win $50 to Capitol Grill, and you can take me there tonight if you like. Okay. With that, the biggest applause should go to you for hanging in there. Let's hear it. Paul, thank you.